Former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi joins me now. Welcome back, Ms. Bondi. What's your reading of the Trump trial and Michael Cohen's testimony?
Well, you have to remember Michael Cohen is a convicted felon, a convicted liar, and he gave discredited testimony in court, and the jurors see that, and they're going to be told, Stuart, in a jury instruction, if it makes it that far, that if you believe anything that a witness said isn't true, you can disregard their entire testimony. That's a standard jury instruction.
Hold on a second.
So I think so far he's failed miserably.
You're saying if he makes it that far, you mean the trial could end suddenly by
well, the
judge
trial, yes,
could end it?
The judge could end it by a directed verdict. That's what the defense attorneys will be seeking. And, you know, Stuart, I believe they've committed reversible error every single step of this trial, beginning with jury selection. As a career prosecutor, they've let in so much evidence that should not have been admitted into this trial, but also they did not prove their case. Not one single witness, not even Michael Cohen, who was, by the way, Donald Trump's lawyer, violated attorney-client privilege, admitted that President Trump did anything wrong. No one has in this trial so far. It should be a directed verdict. However, the way this judge has been ruling the entire trial, I don't know if he'll do that. It should be a directed verdict. It should never, ever get to a jury, Stuart.
Do you think Trump should testify himself?
Absolutely not. I know he wants to testify. He's made that very clear, but the state has not proven their case. I don't think he should testify. I don't think they need to put on any witnesses. That's the argument if it makes it to a jury. I don't think it should again, but that they haven't proven their case against him. No, he has the absolute right not to testify. I don't think he should, not even close. I know he wants to, so let's hope his lawyers convince him not to, because he does not need to in this case.
Hunter Biden's gun trial begins next month. The judge refused his lawyer's request to delay the trial. They claim Hunter won't have enough time to prepare. Pam, how does the Hunter gun trial play out?
Well, he wrote a memoir, and of course, in his book, he admitted to, so he's not a convicted felon, Stuart, but you can't buy a gun if you're drug addicted. And in his book, he admitted that he was doing crack almost daily at the time that he purchased a firearm. There are pictures of him, nude pictures of him, holding a firearm shortly before and after he was doing drugs. So he lied on federal forms to purchase a gun. And, you know, that's very serious, obviously, because no one who's addicted to drugs should be purchasing a firearm. So it's a pretty solid case. And in his own biography, he's admitted to the crime. I guess lawyers didn't read that book before he published it, but that should come into evidence, and it's a very, very solid case against him.
Got it. An excellent update on two big trials. We appreciate that. Pam Bondi, please don't be a stranger. Come back and see us again soon. Thanks a lot.